Welcome to an episode of r/slash petty revenge, where we share stories of small victories over those who've wronged you. Kick back and enjoy these several stories we are about to share with you, and at the end, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, on to the stories. And this story is posted by u/insert funny name 06. Son keeps kicking the back of my seat while in a flight. My dad gets his revenge. This was a few years ago when my dad and I, 14F, were on a flight back home from India. Behind us, there was a family of 3 with their son behind me and the mom behind my dad. It was a nighttime flight and everyone was beat. It was also a small budget airlines with not much leg room. About 10 minutes into the flight, the kid behind me starts kicking my seat. To be clear, he wasn't very little, maybe 9 or 10. I let my dad know, and he politely asks him to stop. And he does, for about 10 seconds. We tell him again, more firmly this time, but no luck. This is where the revenge starts. My dad reclines his seat as much as he can, and when they ask him to put it up, he doesn't. They call the flight attendant, FA, and the jerk dad, JD, talks to him. JD, this man put his seat down and my wife is uncomfortable. FA, while talking to my dad, would you like to keep it down? My dad, yes please. FA, well then, he can if he wants to. That's not his problem. Have a nice flight. He walks away with the dad left spluttering and cursing under his breath. Fun times. Edit. Sorry I didn't give proper closure, disappointing a lot of you. The parents realized what happened and after a few harsh whispers, got the kid to stop kicking. But that didn't stop them from glaring at both me, my dad, and the flight attendant that walked by. My dad did keep the seat down for another hour, but got up once he was sure those parents learned their lesson. And this story is posted by u/Flamine Salamander. Teacher wouldn't let students use the washroom. So, in grade 2, I had this teacher who would never say yes to students using the washroom. I often wound up holding it for hours, sometimes till it hurt. Sometimes I would ask and get told no, and then ask again 2 hours later to get told no again. So one day, I'm in class half an hour after lunch, and suddenly I've really got to take a dump. I asked her, and she said I should have gone at lunch. I told her I didn't have to go at lunch, and she said, to quote exactly, "You should have gone anyway." She said this more than once. So an hour and a half later, I've got to go pretty bad, and I ask again, and she says no again. I can remember again thinking in my head I could make it to the end of the day, but I'd rather get her in some trouble. At this point, I intentionally spit myself and then sat in it till the end of the day. When my dad showed up, he immediately noticed the smell, and I told him I'd been sitting in it since 2 because she wouldn't let me use the washroom and I couldn't hold it. He was pissed and had a very angry talk with the teacher and principal, after which I was told she'd never tell me no again. About a month later, she started saying no again, and I told my dad. He was pissed and had another talk, after which she never told me no again. And this story is posted by u/My head is spinning. Parking spot revenge. This is probably the most common type of revenge story I've read, being that it's about parking spaces. But just now finding this sub made me laugh out loud about my situation. About 2 years ago, I bought a house that is somewhat close to our hospital in town. I don't have a driveway, so I park in front of my house on the street. This isn't the greatest situation, but whatever. It is what it is. Well, I quickly found out trying to find a parking spot when coming home was almost impossible, and I would end up having to park 3 blocks away. This is in a small town with free parking everywhere, and my street doesn't have much traffic. I started talking with all the neighbors and found out none of them were able to park on our street either, and that almost every other resident was either having to park a few blocks down or don't own a vehicle themselves. It's the hospital employees that take up all the spots. Normally I would understand and just let it go, but I noticed the staff parking lot was always empty. This is an $8 a month parking lot. There are signs everywhere. So that means I'm having to haul a carload of groceries 3 blocks after working all day, all because people are refusing to pay about 25 cents a day to park in their designated area. I eventually got home one day right as someone was leaving a spot directly in front of my house, and I asked them if it was possible to park elsewhere. Mostly just out of curiosity because the cars are always brand new, and I can't understand why someone who drives a new BMW would care about having to waste 25 cents on parking. She blew up at me, like as in full on screaming. My neighbors were all out looking from their doors and windows in shock. That was the end of me being polite. I got the go ahead from my neighborhood and decided to start messing with any vehicle that was parked there and owned by a hospital employee. Nothing bad. I would just park close by at first and make their exit a pain in the butt. And slowly but surely started to bring somewhat of a fleet to take up the whole street. I am part owner of an electrical company in town, and we have a few unused unmarked vans as well as cargo trailers, and I have a couple older personal vehicles as well. Got to the point where I had 5 vans, my truck, car, Jeep, and 2 cargo trailers lined up on the street parked extremely poorly. I essentially took up both sides of the entire block until my neighbors would come home, send me a text, and I let them in while moving one of the vehicles. It doesn't seem like a lot, but 10 or so extra vehicles taking up spots that normally 15 plus cars could fit made a huge difference. The streets around ours got way more blocked, and eventually, one by one, all of those cars I came to loathe started parking in their designated lot. Sometimes I find a little car sneak right in between 2 of my vehicles, so I would just go ahead and park my 2 in even closer, making their escape difficult. I made it a bit of a sport, coming home from work and then sitting on my lawn drinking a beer, watching people scream bloody murder trying to get their cars out of these spots. Took about 2 months of me being the biggest a-hole to the hospital employees, I know, I'm a butt, until they pretty much all got parking passes. Now all of my vehicles are gone and the street is super quiet, every neighbor has a spot, and I haven't had to walk more than half a block to get home in ages. And this story is posted by u/mermaid paint. She constantly called the wrong number and demanded I return a dress that a stranger borrowed. In 2002, I had an older woman constantly call me thinking I was Emily Januski. I was listed in the phone directory as E. Januski, and she said I sounded just like Emily. Her name was Susan. I hung up on her every time. She called about once or twice a month. I didn't block her because in the ancient dinosaur days, the phone company charged $3 a month to block someone. I wasn't going to spend any money blocking her. I used *69 to get her phone number and this fairly new search engine called Google to confirm her name was Susan Januski. I have the same last name as these people, but I wasn't closely related to them, if at all. I debated calling her home number to speak with a family member and tell them to get this woman to stop calling me. Decided I didn't want to get that involved. The final straw came when she called me after midnight because Emily had borrowed her purple dress and she wanted it back. Once again, I said, I am not Emily and you must stop calling me. She said, whatever, it's my dress. Click. 2 days later, one of my friends disguised her phone number and called Susan on behalf of the local police. She told Susan that I was going to press harassment charges if she didn't stop calling me. Susan accidentally called me again a year later, but realized her mistake after I answered. She sounded terrified. For clarity, she only called about the dress once after midnight. And this story is posted by u/LessMax. Use my dishes and leave them dirty? Fine. This happened my freshman year in college. We were 4 to a dorm with a shared kitchen. I bought a brand new set of dishes, serviced for 8. 8 plates, 8 bowls, and 8 mugs. And I bought a flatware set. 8 big spoons, 8 little spoons, 8 forks, 8 butter knives. I told my roommate they could feel free to use my dishes because I had such a large set, as long as they washed what they used when they used it. So simple. They agreed. About 2 months in, I had it. Every goddarn time I go to the kitchen to eat, every single plate, bowl, mug, fork, knife, and spoon would be sitting in the sink. Dirty. I asked a few times that they take care of the dishes they used. Wait, did I say dirty? Oh no, not just dirty. They wouldn't even bother to scrape or rinse them. They had food caked and dried on so that regular washing couldn't get rid of it. They'd have to sit in hot, soapy water for hours, then be scrubbed. So I soaked and scrubbed and dried them. And then I packed every last one up and brought them back to my parents' house. Didn't even warn them I was doing it either, just took them all home. I bought myself plastic flatware and paper plates and kept them hidden in my room. Refuse to wash the dishes I bought and allow you all to use? Fine. No effing dishes for you. Those were 5 great stories. To hear the best stories of the week, click on the video in the top left-hand corner. To hear more Reddit stories all related to what you just heard, click on the video in the top right-hand corner. If you have not already done so, click on the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Once again, this is TNA, Top Notch Audio. Thank you for listening and have yourself a great day.